Did you know that over 2 million animals gather each year in the eastern savannas of Africa to form the largest herd migration in the world? And that it's all determined by the rainfall patterns? Savannas are actually more common than you think all across our planet. And when it comes to Africa, approximately 65% of it is occupied by savanna grasslands. The most significant savanna is one you may have already heard of. It's called the Serengeti. It contains what many believe is the most important ecosystem in the world. Very few changes in the climate and habitat have given the Serengeti a prehistoric presence over the past million years. Its vast open grasslands and scattered trees provide opportunities for grass and vegetation to grow in the sunlight. And the name Serengeti translates into endless plains, which is very fitting, considering this gigantic ecosystem occupies almost 12,000 square miles, the same as 30,000 square kilometers, on the eastern side of Africa and Tanzania, just below Kenya. Every year the Serengeti hosts the Great Migration, which is the largest herd animal migration in the world. It was selected as one of Africa's 7 natural wonders, along with the Nile River, the Great Sahara, Red Sea Reef System, Mount Kilimanjaro, Ngorongoro Crater, and Okavango Delta. 2 million animals, such as zebras, wildebeests, and gazelles, migrate in a clockwise direction in search of better grazing areas. This journey is approximately 500 miles round trip, or 804 kilometers. And the migration is determined by the end of the rainfall season, which is typically around March. It lasts until they return the following winter, right after the yearly cycles of rain and fresh grass. It's particularly a rough time for approximately 250,000 wildebeests that suffer from hunger, thirst, and exhaustion. Not to mention a percentage of them falling victim to predators, such as lions, leopards, and hyenas. And every year, the Serengeti is met with 2 rainy seasons, the first happening between March and May, which is typically the longer season, and the second happening from November to December, which is typically unpredictable but has shorter rainfall. The combined rainy seasons generally drop around 10 to 30 inches of rain, which is roughly 25 to 76 centimeters, and brings temperatures of around 59 to 79 degrees Fahrenheit, equal to about 15 to 26 degrees Celsius. The remainder of the year is usually a dry but relatively cool season. This is the 4-month period between June and October. Temperatures during the night are slightly cooler in the dry months. However, in the daytime it can still get pretty hot. But this is the prime time to visit the Serengeti, because visibility is a lot clearer at this time. It makes it easier to see wildlife at further distances. The dry periods bring wildlife in from the heat as they gather around shade and water collection areas, giving the viewers a very pleasant experience. Not to mention, this is also a fantastic time to catch the wildebeest's migration in progress. The wildlife is part of what makes the Serengeti so special. Though the Serengeti is well known for its large super predators, it's also home to a variety of other fascinating animals. During the day, you can find branded mongooses in the savanna and open forests, usually together in a group of around 20. You may think these mongooses look like meerkats, and if you do, you're right. That's because meerkats are a part of the mongoose family. You will usually see the mongooses come out in the morning to feed and forage throughout the day. These groups will form a strong social system where most of the adults will share responsibility in providing for the young. They usually like to nest in empty dens left by other animals, and they usually occupy that spot for about a week before moving on to find new food. One animal you will most definitely recognize in the Serengeti is the Grant zebra. Zebras are by far one of the most mesmerizing animals in the savanna. The contrast and placement of their black and white stripes make them very alluring to wildlife enthusiasts. There have been several theories discussed over the past 100 years about the purpose of the zebra's stripes. One theory suggested is that the stripes make it more difficult for predators to single out an individual from a herd that is fleeing. Another theory is that the stripes provide protection from insect bites, because the stripes don't seem to be an ideal place for insects to land. The best time to spot zebras is in the dry season when they gather in groups near a stream or body of water. The dry season also makes it easier to see them from great distances. Zebras join in on the Great Migration, and you will almost always see them paired up with the wildebeests. These wildebeests are a part of the antelope and gazelle family, and are commonly found feeding in the open woodlands and grass of the savanna. However, they spend most of their lives circling in the Great Migration. and the calves are generally born in the southern part of the Serengeti during the rainy season early in the year. And when the dry season sets in, the migration starts by heading north. Their journey will be in search for fresh grass. However, there will be several rivers to cross, and they are often forced to face the danger of many Nile crocodiles. Possibly one of the most graceful animals is the Maasai giraffe, which are also very common in the Serengeti. You can usually find them browsing in the open grasslands and woodlands. With their long necks, they prefer to eat the fruits and leaves from many different species of trees. And in doing so, they are actually helping with pollination as they move from tree to tree. And throughout the year, giraffes will seasonally change their home surroundings and travel long distances to find new foliage and search for possible mates. And giraffes are keen to sensing danger from each other as well. If a giraffe in a group spots a predator in the distance, the stare of the giraffe will signal to the others to look in the same direction and beware of the danger. Another graceful member of the Serengeti is the largest living land animal in the world, the African bush elephant. You can often find them in the open grasslands and woodlands. They'll spend about 12 to 18 hours a day eating. And in the dry season, you may find them near water sources, cooling off in the mud. Elephants are one of the big five that were considered the most challenging and the most dangerous to hunt during the colonial period starting in 1884. Joining them on that list are buffaloes, leopards, rhinos, and lions. Today, they still face endangerment from poachers in search for their ivory tusks, which resulted in a great decrease in their population. And if you're east from the plains of the Serengeti, you may spot some African wild dogs, which are sometimes also known as African painted dogs. You'll often find them in a pack of about 10, however some packs have been spotted to have around 30 or 40. They work together when they hunt, which makes them some of the most efficient hunters in the world, running about an 80% success rate compared to the 10% success rate of a lion. These painted dogs have been on the endangered species list since the 1990s because they have been subject to a broken-up habitat, disease, and human-inflicted danger. All of that on top of having food stolen or dying at the hands of lions and hyenas. And don't get the painted dogs confused with the spotted hyenas. In fact, hyenas are classified as a feliformia, which is a subgroup for cat-like carnivores. You will recognize hyenas by their sloped backs, spotted hair, mischievous behavior, and cackling laughter. They're mostly nocturnal, so they can see and hear exceptionally well at night. However, sometimes you can also find them pretty active during the day. And one misconception many have about hyenas is that they are mainly scavengers. However, 70% of a hyena's diet is provided by hunting prey. And the females are actually more dominant than the males, with a much larger and stronger build, and a jaw more powerful than a lion's. If you stick around the Serengeti Plains long enough, you'll spot a Southeast African cheetah. They are quick, cunning hunters built for speed. Their small head, long, lean body, and slender limbs are optimized for running, reaching speed bursts of up to 70 miles per hour, which is equal to around 112 kilometers per hour. They have large hearts and large passageways through their nose to help deliver enough oxygen to produce enough strength and endurance to reach those kinds of speeds. The cheetah's population has sadly been reduced over the decades due to human interference and disruption in their habitat. They used to roam the entire continent of Africa and even as far north as India. But today their presence is pretty limited and they're mostly spotted in the plains of the Serengeti. If you head to the northwest to the waterholes of the Serengeti, you may cross paths with one of the largest vegetarians of the land, the common hippopotamus. These adult males can weigh up to 3,000 pounds, which equals to about 1,400 kilograms. And they can spend up to 16 hours a day in water and mud to keep themselves cool from the heat of the sun. They may seem like gentle giants at first, however they can be extremely dangerous, due to them being territorial, as well as very protective of their young. They don't have any predators to worry about, due to their enormous size and aggressive temperament. And last, but definitely not least, the king of the African savanna, the top of the food chain, the African lion. These beautiful creatures can be found in grasslands, shrubby areas, and woodlands, usually sleeping under a tree if you spot one during the day. They form groups called a pride, and most prides consist of around 20 members. They do the majority of their hunting after nightfall because they can see very well in the dark, which gives them an advantage over their prey. They like to feed on prey such as zebras, wildebeests, and Cape buffaloes. The average adult male can weigh anywhere from 330 to 550 pounds, which is about 150 to 250 kilograms. Sadly, the lion population is half of what it used to be 25 years ago, and lions in Western Africa are on the verge of extinction. Over the years, farming has fragmented the lion's habitat and hunting grounds, making it more difficult for the lions to survive and find food. Before moving on, please subscribe, hit the like, and ring the notification bell so you never miss our new destinations. In 1951, the Serengeti National Park was established. There was a bit of pushback at first by the administrators in Tanganyika. It was proposed that the park would invade on the rights of the local natives and create political turmoil. However, the decision to establish the park was still approved. It was formed from game reserves that were declared in 1921 and 1929, not long after cattle disease and drought nearly took out the wildebeest and buffalo populations in the 1890s. It wasn't until the 1970s that these animals finally made a full recovery. The park was established to help preserve the Great Migration and the well-being of wildlife to the area. It provides an area where wildlife is free from being hunted by poachers and to treat animals that have diseases. It's visited by about 350,000 people each year and is one of the most fascinating wildlife parks around. The second rainy season between November and December is generally the more affordable time to go, and they do have an admission fee. During that time, determining the pattern of the rainfall makes it easier to plan activities for the desired park experiences. The protection from the park has helped boost the wildlife populations in a healthier direction. All in all, the Serengeti is a fascinating part of this planet, and it should truly be cherished and protected for the well-being of these amazing animals. Serengeti National Park is a great example of the preservation of wildlife and beauty. Watch this top 10 video where we cover the best national parks to visit in the United States.